we've got Nephilim, we've got the giant of Kandahar, we've got the Greys, and we've got tall whites. What's the difference? Reptilians, mantis. First of all, angels can shapeshift. We know that the dragon, the enemy Satan, can appear as an angel of light, not his true form. The Greek word, and this was taught to me by my good friend and brother who's no longer with us, Russ Dizdar. The Greek word is metaskitsmonosai. They have the ability to shapeshift and present themselves basically however they want to. Karen's handler, Karen Wilkinson, who we published her book, Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. It's a must-read if you're into the alien abduction phenomena, because it's real. It's not demonic delusion. These people are taken. There is a breeding program that's going on. We talked about this in our 4th film, but then we link it later on in film number 6 on counter mutilations, and we show how they're inexorably tied together. But once again, I digress. So you've got fallen angels can shapeshift. They can appear pretty much as they want to. They can appear as your grandmother, your dead grandmother, if they choose to. Greys, the Greys with the big heads and the almond eyes, there's no reproduction system that's there. They don't eat. So what are we looking at? In my opinion, these are avatars. They are essentially meat suits. They are biological constructs for the demons. What are demons? Demons are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. Let's back up. The seed of the dragon will be at war with the seed of the woman. So that's Genesis 3:15. That's the gateway to the rest of the biblical prophetic narrative. So the seed war erupts 3 chapters later. Fallen angels come down. We know that from the book of Enoch, 200 of them in the days of Jared on Mount Hermon. And by the way, Mount Hermon is Nephilim Central. That's where all the mischief, as Chuck Missler liked to call it, begins. That's the nexus. That's the starting point. So the Nephilim are the offspring of fallen angels and human women, creating a hybrid being known as the Nephilim. They were never supposed to be here. This is why the flood of Noah occurs. That's number 1. So the Greys, let me back up. The Nephilim perish in the flood. They become the disembodied spirits which roam the earth, i.e. demons. How do we know that? The book of Enoch. Those of you who have an issue with the book of Enoch, I'll just say this. Jude quotes the book of Enoch. It was obviously widely read in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd centuries. Jude's quoting from the book of Enoch. Is it part of our canon? Now it's not. But in the Ethiopian Bible, it precedes the book of Genesis. In my opinion, if you were going to keep one book from the people, you keep the book of Enoch. You're going to keep one book away from the people of the world. That's the book you keep out, because it tells you exactly what's going on. Fallen angels are coming down. They're grabbing the women. They're going into them multiple times. They're having children by them. These are hybrid beings known as the Nephilim. They are soulless. So you've got demons wandering the earth. They're earthbound. So what does the dragon do? The dragon knows that a demon, in order for a demon to manifest, has to inhabit a person, has to inhabit an animal or an object. So what does the dragon do? He creates the Greys. It's a biological construct. It's an avatar. How do we know this? Because experiencers, people who have been on board the ships, including Whitley Strieber, talks about seeing the Greys stacked up like cordwood, stacked up like chairs, okay? One on top of each other. And there is no reproduction system, as I said earlier. There doesn't seem to be a digestive system. So they're biological suits. They're expendable. I remember sitting down with the late David Flynn and talking to him about this, and he also agreed on that. So moving along, now you've got the giant of Kandahar, all right? And the giant of Kandahar, we don't know how old that thing is. According to the shooter and the eyewitnesses, the smell was so overpowering, people began to gag. It made them nauseous. So are we looking at a being that's 1,000 years old, 2,000 years old, 3,000 years old? And what about Bigfoot? So Bigfoot, in my opinion, is a modern day Nephilim. It's a hybrid. I believe that they are all have a nefarious agenda, in spite of what some people tell us. That's right now, with the evidence I have, that's what I'm going with. There's a very nefarious agenda when it comes to Bigfoot and Sasquatch. They also have the ability to pop in and pop out. The Kandahar giant allegedly had the same ability to bilocate from one place to another. Again, this comes from years of research, talking to whistleblowers, talking to people that have come up to me, and everything is very privy information. In other words, I can't divulge the source. But some of these people were embedded in special forces, and I'll just leave it at that. So let's walk through it. Fallen angels are fallen angels. They've come down and they create, through grabbing the women and having sex with the women, Okay, and for some of you out there, you got a real problem with that. But that's what happens. They create a hybrid being known as the nephilim. The flood happens. The nephilim are wiped out. The disembodied spirits of a nephilim are the demons that roam over the earth. Disembodied spirits, in order to manifest, need something to dwell in. A human being, a group of animals like the swine, where Jesus cast out legion from the man of the tombs, and they go into the swine, or an object. The giant of Kandahar, in my opinion, may be thousands of years old. In other words, we know that there's a diaspora when Joshua and Caleb go into the promised land. Are we looking at the diaspora of giants? Afghanistan is not that far away from the Middle East. There is a cave system, allegedly, that is underneath this planet, and you can go from one part of the planet to another. That giant at Kandahar came out of a cave, and more about that later. So you've got the Nephilim, the disembodied spirits, which become the demons, the grays, where the demons can inhabit those biological constructs, those suits, and they can manifest in this dimension. The giant of Kandahar, which can bilocate, and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, which also can bilocate. They come in and they come out. They're interdimensional entities, in my opinion. Let's walk through Miami. In the 90s, Barry Chamish, who was an Israeli journalist, wrote a book, The Return of the Nephilim. I met Barry, and at that time, this was 1999, I had my first book in the Nephilim trilogy published, Nephilim, The Truth Is Here. And I went down to see Barry. He was speaking at a MUFON meeting, and we met and we talked, and I just said, "Hi, Barry," and I held up the book, and his jaw dropped because he realized someone else was in the same genre that he was. And Barry and I would communicate through phone and internet later. He passed away a number of years ago now. Barry's book talks about the giants appearing in Israel. There were footprints, there were photographs. So that brings us to what might have happened in Miami. Don't know. There's several TikTok reports. There's allegedly from a couple of people who were there. They saw shadowy figures, very dark, very tall, and they would bilocate from one place to another. What are we looking at? Folks, I have no idea. I wasn't there. If you know somebody who maybe has cell phone images, no matter how blurry, of the event, please shoot them here. la@lamarzulli.net. la@lamarzulli.net. So I'm following this story because, 60 to 100 police cars converging on the mall because some teenagers are throwing firecrackers and battling each other with sticks. That may be exactly what happened. That may be the truth. I don't know. I really don't know. And a group of teenagers, you get 100 teenagers together wearing ski masks and rampaging through a mall, they can do millions of dollars worth.